Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome back to the Free-to-Play review. So today's topic is going to be the latest iteration of the Deck of Fate, specifically the Adventure Deck of Fate, which we have come to know means that there are gear pieces behind these cards. For anyone who's unfamiliar with how a Deck of Fate works, there are 40 cards in total, and there's some breakdown of common, rare, and epic. In this case, there's 17, 13, and 10. And as you can see here, there is a bunch of gear, namely Pinpoint gear, and it's a mix of some artifacts as well as some accessories from the various rarities, epic, legendary, and mythical, along with some other goodies. The primary gimmick of the Deck of Fate is that if you get 3 of a kind in a row, that being the common, rare, or epic cards, then you can roll on these respective tables for each of these types of rewards. And it's worth noting that in this particular iteration, there is no pinning, so you're just going to have to go with raw luck if you want to try your luck at getting 3 of a kind in a row. And of course, the way to get your fossil coins, or whatever these are called, is from dungeon divers as well as champion training. Now, this is not the worst version. In fact, it's probably the most accessible version. Granted, it is also very, very tough to do entirely with these two methods. Dungeon divers is historically and always will be the worst way to get points for any type of event, that whether it be a Deck of Fate or a Hero's Path or even the dungeon divers events themselves. And then the champion training aspect is a lot more reasonable, but it's still fairly unreasonable to do in the amount of time that you have to do it with the amount of energy that you'll get over the course of 4 days. If we hop over to the spreadsheet, which will be linked in the description box down below, we can take a look at those same numbers in a slightly more digestible format. On the left hand side here, we have the breakdown for the dungeon divers aspect, where we have the campaign running stage 12-3 on brutal, as well as various dungeon stages that most people are more likely to run and or farm. And you can see that the main takeaway here would be like the average currency per run and or the average currency per energy. So if you're running hard mode stage 10 dungeons, for example, then you're going to get around 21 currency per run, as compared to like normal mode stage 20, where you're getting about 19.4 or about 20, give or take. So there's not a huge difference in the amount of currency you're going to get per run, regardless of the stage that you run, but there is going to be a discrepancy in the currency per energy, and so that's where you can be a little bit more efficient by running a lower stage. However, doing it entirely with dungeon divers would cost a ridiculous amount of energy, so that is highly inadvisable. There's also the champion training aspect over here, which we have 2 rows here, per capita and cumulative, and per capita just means the amount of points you would get for making each level of chicken, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 6-star champion. And these do include some leveling with brews to certain levels. So for the 6-star champion, for example, we're taking them to level 52, which is usually where you want to stop if you want to do the rest of the levels to 60 in Minotaur. And then the cumulative just means we're accounting for the fact that you need multiple of each chicken to feed into the next tier. And so we're just adding all that up, including all the way up to a 6-star champion, which is around 9,700 points, meaning that if you wanted to flip the entire deck with just champion training, you'd have to probably crank out around 4 6-star champions from scratch, meaning that you're making all the chickens along the way, including the 2-stars, and then of course making the 6-star champions and then leveling up accordingly. However, of course, if you're doing that with campaign, you're going to get dungeon divers credit along the way, so it's not going to be exactly 4 6-star champions, but still, that's a tall order for a 4-day long event. That would roughly be 1 6-star champion per day, which is a ridiculous amount of energy that you'd have to spend. So what is my plan when it comes to this Deck of Fate? Well, we're going to keep this one short and simple, and I am just going to pass on this one. It's not that I don't like the Pinpoint gear, that it would be nice to get, but I'd probably rather just wait until some event dungeon comes back in the future, and hopefully that has Pinpoint, just so that I could probably, dedicate more time to it and just get more pieces. Obviously, these are really good rarities and whatnot, but there's no guarantee that they're going to have good rolls, good substats, or good anything for that matter. And of course, they're all spread out within the deck, so there's not really any guarantee unless you were to get all 40 flips, thus you can get all of the pieces and thus have higher chances to get something good just because you're rolling on more pieces. But as we talked about, if you're trying to do that without spending any gems on energy, you're not really going to get that many flips over the course of 4 days worth of champion training, and so it's just not really worth it in my opinion to me, and I'd rather just spend my energy on whatever else I plan to do, which in this case is going to be Minotaur, because I have some masteries to work on for a couple of champions, and then I'll be back to running Sand Devil once that's done. For all of you though, my recommendation would be that if you do care about getting some higher rarity Pinpoint gear, then by all means spend the next 4 days working on champion training, get as many flips as you can, and then best of luck on the rolls that you're going to get. Again, I wouldn't anticipate completing the entire deck unless you have tons and tons of energy saved up, and this is probably not the best use of that energy, but then again, that's up to you to decide for yourself. And of course, if you don't really care about the gear at all, then like me, just do whatever you were going to do in between fusions. So yeah, there you have it. That's going to do it for the free-to-play review of the Adventure Deck of Fate. There's really not much more to say on this topic because it's pretty straightforward and you're either interested or you're not. Let me know in the comment section down below if you plan to pursue this Deck of Fate, and of course, let me know if you happen to get any good pieces along the way. As always, if you found this this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help out the channel. And if you are enjoying the videos on the channel, then feel free to hit that subscribe button down below as well. Thanks for watching and have a good one.